social emotional learning and the effects it can have on behavior and academic achievement. Imagine that this is your classroom and you have students who are collaboratively working together and working to become more independent and critical thinkers. Now I want you to picture this. Your classroom in disarray, desks are being flipped upside down, papers are being torn up and thrown all over the floor, and you have an inconsolable student who is putting the safety of that classroom and those in it at risk. This situation is what sparked the action research. There was a student last year who was having a breakdown, and lack of proper resources prevented staff from better supporting them in a time of need. The situation led to the review of current school practices, and what was found was that K-5 students at Royal Elementary didn't have adequate access to social emotional learning resources, which resulted in an uptick in behavioral issues and academic decline. The whole purpose of the study is to understand how increased exposure can affect students both behaviorally and academically. And the question guiding this study is, how will increased access to social emotional learning aid in decreasing undesirable behaviors and improve academic achievement for the K-5 students at Royal Elementary? What are the experts saying? The literature turned up what Yoder et al. 2020 stated, and that was social emotional learning can help students build self-awareness. And this self-awareness and being able to manage behaviors in a more productive way is key to achievement, not only in the classroom, but in other facets of their lives as well. Pollock et al. 2024 also talked about how social emotional learning creates a sense of belonging, which in turn can lead to increased happiness over time. Sweered and Williams 2023, when citing Taylor et al. 2017, also mentioned that interventions such as social emotional learning can help build a stronger school community, which is what Royal Elementary is aiming to do. And Casel 2018 also talks about some other impacts that social emotional learning can have on students and the school community.
I'm a data guy, I like numbers, and we have a lot of evidence that social emotional learning has made a difference.
We had a graduation rate of 62%. Last year we put up a record-breaking 84%.
Over the last 5 years, our expulsions have been cut in half.
We were suspending about 13,000 days of out-of-school suspension. We were 10 times the average for any school district in Ohio. And within that first year alone, we were able to reduce our out-of-school suspensions by 55%.
Attendance rates went up. We know that attendance is directly correlated to academic improvement and achievement, but it also had other outcomes that were extremely important, which is students feeling more connected to schools, educators having to think outside the box, helping students overcome some of the challenges that are in their life.
There's an 11-to-1.
So Raimundo et al. 2024 specify that design and implementation must be well thought out if improvements are to be seen. So if we want to see increased attendance, less suspension rates, more self-awareness, increased happiness, a sense of belonging, building a stronger school community, we must really think about how we want this implementation to look, because there are many different pieces to the puzzle that have to be carefully considered if you or whoever is deciding to implement this is going to get out what you intend to. Proposed action plan. This study follows the mixed method approach, which combines both quantitative and qualitative data. And according to Stenke 2024, this allows for there to be a more comprehensive picture of the information and the data to be captured and represented in a more targeted way. The target solution for increasing exposure is to have every classroom at Royal Elementary implement at least 2 simple yet effective practices. And while all students would benefit from this intervention, 3rd and 4th grade classrooms will specifically be targeted, as this is where the most behavioral issues have been documented. Teachers and students at the very beginning will initially be observed to establish a baseline for behaviors and classroom culture, and they will also be interviewed. And those interview questions will remain consistent across all involved classrooms to help ensure the data is reliable. Within a month of those initial observations, teachers will be trained and instructed by various experts who will provide literature on best practices, such as morning meetings or daily practices, something that the literature, a common theme that was found within the literature. Morning meetings and daily check-ins are something that can really help start the day off right and give students outlets to share what might be going on. And teachers will also be provided within that training a mentor who can assist them as they proceed in the study. Now, within 2 weeks of that training, so in the middle of this study, teachers will start their 2 to 3 times per week observation cycle. And over the course of 2 months, researchers will use interview questions and targeted questions based on the practice that was chosen to see what impact social emotional learning is having. And then finally, towards the end of the study, even after the study is over, within 2 to 3 weeks of the last observation, teachers and researchers will form a focus group where teachers will bring student test data and general noticing, and the researchers will bring observational notes and what turned up from their interviews and what they observed, and everyone can share their findings and work to find solutions to better provide support and understand the impacts of social emotional learning. Potential benefits. Social emotional learning can affect students, but their teachers and administrators as well. And McGraw-Hill echoes this point and why it's important to have social emotional learning not only for students but for others around them as well.
Why social and emotional learning is important for teachers. You probably already know that social and emotional learning, or SEL, equips students with the skills to lead happy, healthy, and successful lives at home and at school. But did you know that SEL benefits teachers too? This is because in the process of teaching students how to build strong social and emotional skills, teachers review and practice those skills as well. Since SEL helps people of all ages manage stress and other harmful emotions, a socially and emotionally intelligent classroom offers a positive learning environment for teachers and students alike. Research backs this up. Studies show that stress is contagious, and when teachers struggle to manage their emotions, students' academic performance and behavior generally suffer as well. Conversely, the opposite is also true. Teachers with strong SEL competencies foster classrooms that promote positive outcomes and behaviors for their students. When every member of a classroom community engages in social and emotional learning, they contribute to a learning culture that is supportive and motivating for everyone around them. What's not to love about that?
So not only do we have to be thinking of students and how social emotional learning can impact them, we also have to think about teachers and other staff and how social emotional learning can help them and benefit them as well. So the research turned up that students, when exposed to social emotional learning, can become better advocates for themselves and build more meaningful interpretations of the information. Teachers, on the other hand, are provided with better ways to address student behavior and form connections with their colleagues and learn how to create an engaging learning environment for their students. Administrators will notice a more cohesive working environment since everyone is now on the same page and working to improve the learning experience for their students. What are our next steps? Finding from this study will be shared district-wide so everyone understands the benefits of social emotional learning and can decide if this is the right move for them in their school. From there, professional development sessions will be required to provide teachers and other staff the resources and tools for successful implementation. Next, we want to find ways to involve families, as this was a gap found within the literature. According to Cipriano et al. 2024, approximately 87% of families aren't being engaged in social emotional learning efforts, and they do have the capability to reinforce these practices at home. So we would like to find effective ways to help them do that. And then our final step would be to have quarterly meetings where those involved can share what they're seeing and discuss what could be done to make improvements moving forward. To conclude, lack of resources prevented students from having the necessary tools in times of need and created a culture that wasn't at the level that it should have or could have been. It's been found that social emotional learning has the power to change the landscape of education. One's well-being must be addressed before any learning can happen. Carafuri 2024 mentions that social emotional learning not only helps students visualize themselves as successful learners, but it also helps them see themselves as contributing members of society as well. Successful implementation lends itself to building a positive classroom community where students can thrive both behaviorally and academically. Any further questions, please be sure to add them to our shared Google Docs. Once they've been reviewed, answers will be sent out via email. Also be sure to check out or use the hashtag RESEL, Royal Elementary Social Emotional Learning, and tag us so we can see how social emotional learning is going for you and your students. Thank you.